Alrighty, so wanted to share a little bit about unconscious demands and expectations. Because this has been a really big thing that has been landing for me over the last a couple of years, really, especially the last year, about how many unconscious demands and expectations I had on other people. And what I'm talking about is having demands and expectations on how other people show up, how they behave, how they treat me, all of these things that were knocking around about how I believed somebody else needed to be in the world. And they came from my beliefs. Right? It was like I took all of my beliefs and I packaged them up into a nice little ball and just dumped them on everybody around me. And it was unconscious, right? It was unconscious, expecting them to believe the same same things I believed, expecting them to think the same way I thought or feel the same way I felt, right? Which is crazy because we're all unique and we're all individual and we all have different ways of seeing, viewing and experiencing the world, right? But this has really landed for me how much and how unconscious my expectations and demands of other people were, until I began to see it, until I learned what I was doing, that I was just taking all of my stuff, right? All of my shit, all of my beliefs, all of the way that I viewed the world, and then dumping it into my friendships, my partnerships, my intimate relationship, and with my children, right? Because I see it this way, you need to as well. And my kids have been instrumental, right? Along with the close friendships that I have in my world, the work that I do, the Wolfpack group that I roam in. But my kids, I just wanted to share this because I had such a beautiful experience yesterday. It didn't feel so beautiful at the time, and it was beautiful. So what happened was that, and what I was going to say before, that my kids have been instrumental in helping me see the unconscious demands that I have had on them, and still do, and the unconscious expectations that I also have. Hey Ingrid, great to see you, love. Because they fed something back to me yesterday and this is what happened. So I'd been working all day, sitting here in my office on my butt, and I've been working quite a lot over the last little while, getting these trainings out and working with clients and finishing my book. So there's been a lot of me in the office time. And they got home yesterday and I was like, right, guys, we're going out, we're going to the beach and we're going to go for a walk and we're going to go into the bush, or, and I was, that's where I was. And the energy immediately went bleh and turned to poo, right? And they sat there and I was like, what's going on? And, blah, blah, blah. And we sat in the tension of that conversation because this is what we do. So often I would avoid or not want to sit in that uncomfortability or try and smooth it over or try and resolve it, try and fix it really quickly. And we don't do that anymore. We're like, okay, we're in a bit of sticky stuff here, and we sat in it, right? We sat in it. So we sat in that. And what came out, and my big boy said it first, he said, Mum, it feels like you've got an expectation on us to want to do this, to want to go out and go to the beach or whatever. And, and he didn't sort of say I'm tired, but, I could see it in his face. But I was so in my own demands and expectations, demanding of these kids to pick themselves up and get out of the house with me. And my little guy said to me, he said, Mum, we've been at school and we've been out running around and we got ourselves home on the scooters and bikes and we've been out there. And he said to me, Mum, have you been out of the house today? And I was like, oh. And I was like, no, I haven't. And he said to me, Mum, do you reckon it might be cool if, when we were at school, you went out and did something you know, because I was like, yeah, but I want to get some exercise and I want to, you know, I want to get out into the, you know, out into nature and blah, blah, blah. And he was calling me on it, and he was so right. Yeah, because I hadn't been outside, because I hadn't got any exercise. I was projecting all of that onto him and them, both of them, and dumping all of that on them and putting this massive expectation on them that they needed to come out and do this, right? And it was about them. They needed to get the exercise. They needed to get into nature, right? And who actually needed both of those things? Right? Yeah. So those were my demands and expectations that I was putting on them. They had nothing to do with them, right? So what did I do this morning? Got myself into the bush, got myself walking. Yeah, we did actually end up going to the beach after we had that discussion, and we just sort of had a leisurely stroll, but it didn't have the push of that expectation and that demand that I was putting on them. And this is what we do in relationships, right? It's what we do. We have unconscious demands and expectations all over the show about how someone should be, you know, that their ways of looking at things should match ours, right? And it's creating absolute havoc and disconnection and friction and stickiness in our relationships. And that is something that I really wanted to wake up to, and I continue to wake up to it every single day with the awareness that I bring in the work that I do. Right? And now I have amazing kids who can relate to me at that level and call me on it when they see it, right? And that is gold. So if you're not having the relationships that you would love to be having, yeah, then that awareness brings it back to the relationship that you have with yourself, right? And I'm going to be talking about this a lot, because the relationships that we have with everyone and everything around us is a reflection of how we are relating to ourselves, right? The relationship we have with ourselves. And now that I know I put these demands, these unconscious demands and expectations on others, I can start to not do that anymore, right? Because we've got to have the awareness that we're doing it in the first place before we even have a chance of doing something different, right? And the way that me and my children relate to each other, the way that me and my friends relate, anyone that I come into contact with, we relate at a completely different level, because I stop trying to chuck all my stuff on them, right? The other piece around that is for them to not have all of my stuff chucked on them, right? Which my kids did beautifully last night. They said, yeah, Mum, that's your stuff, babe. Sorry, you can have that back. And that's what they did, right? And it was beautiful indeed. All right, I'm going to end this video and send you lots of love on this beautiful, sunny Thursday afternoon. Who would have thought?